All right, my friends, welcome to episode 337 of Prof and Dev Play Games. My name is Larry, the professor at Prof Plays Games on Twitter. Over there is Anthony, the dev at Summer Speak. How are you doing this fine weekend, Anthony?
Pretty good. Getting a lot of chores done. Getting prepared for vacation and flying at a time that I don't know if I really want to be flying, but we're committed.
Was there no Sloth Sunday today?
There was actually some Sloth Sunday. We had a pack, though. We tried to do a majority of our clothes packing and everything today for myself, wife, and the kids, so that Tuesday night we're not scrambling around like crazy, because Monday and Tuesday, these next 2 days, we still have school and work. It's not like we have downtime before vacation.
Right.
So
I get it all taken care of now.
Yeah, a majority of it. And then if we forget some stuff, like stuff crosses our mind, we won't be like Wednesday morning being like, shit, we forgot that. Ideally, we might still be that way, but we're giving ourselves a better chance of not doing that. But it should be fun.
Well, I wish you a safe flight, safe travels. Looking forward to seeing you down here.
I know. That should be fun. Can't believe it's been a long time. It's been 7 years now since
you've been down here.
Since the whole family has been down there. It's been 5 years since I've been down to see you specifically. Yeah. But I'm like, that's too long. I miss...
Very long time, yes. Postponed by this fucking pandemic.
It's true. This trip has been postponed 2 years, so...
Yeah, I know if we went back to the podcasts around fucking January or February 2020, we were talking about you possibly coming down, and then all of a sudden that derailed.
Yeah, that's just what it is.
It is. Well, we're happy that we've all survived to this point, and looking forward to seeing you. This week, we are talking about that IGN article that came out, a couple days ago, sometime this week, May 5th. Updated May 5th, came out May 3rd, by Kat Bailey, Inside the Growing Discontent Behind Nintendo's Fun Facade. Basically about Nintendo's reliance on contractors and I don't know if it's a Washington state law or whatever it is, but like contractors, they can only work 11 months and have to take 2 months off.
Yeah, we can get into that, but that is a total thing that exists here.
Yeah, so that's interesting. That's feeding into it. There's just the idea of like, two-tier system, basically like the folks who work in the NOA like main building who are like full-time, and then the ones who work in the other building that's not nearly as nice, and they're contractors. So why don't you give us your take on what you read?
Well, first, what I read was like, this is typical of really much the tech industry in general.
Mm-hmm.
And goddamn, U.S. labor laws kind of suck around this, and that's why they can get away with any of doing this.
Right.
Reading the article more on the Nintendo side, it's actually pretty important to state, and it comes up a couple times in the article, but not a ton, that the employees, the contractors, are not employees of Nintendo. They're employees for Aston Carter.
Right. Yep, that's right. That's
which is important. Is an important distinction. Nintendo has a contract with Aston Carter to supply butts and seats, basically.
Right.
And that's one of the main ways that it's not even Nintendo, just corporations handle a lot of positions, usually low paying and high turnover positions in their companies, where they just need people like this to sit at a call center, take calls. They need people to QA. Often sits behind this, Microsoft, and there's a number of contractors up in the Redmond, Bellevue area where these companies are located in Washington that purely just supply QA contractors. That's it.
Yeah.
And so you don't actually work for Microsoft or Nintendo. You work effectively a temp agency.
That's what it sounds like. It sounds like a temp agency. Exactly right.
It totally is what it is.
Well, and this is true. Nintendo is choosing to do that for, business reasons or whatever.
It's cheaper, and they don't want to manage the people themselves. Basically.
I think the management is the big thing. It's like we don't have to. We can offload the management of it. Like we do our thing. We subcontract or we contract to you, and then you subcontract to other contractors to do the work for us. Part of the article that speaks to that not being the whole issue is that they have like 100 jobs on the books that are open or whatever, and they could pull over those contractors into full-time jobs. And part of the complaint of the article is that they're really not. And at one point in the article, they talk about Nintendo perhaps being terrified of hiring new people. And I'm trying to figure out why that is. If you've been working with contractors for a long time who can do the job, and it's still open, you can't find someone to fill it. Why are you terrified of hiring new people?
I don't know. That part was a little weird. I bet, and I will say, I bet there is something to do with them offering the people who are technically employees of Aston Carter full-time jobs. Like, I don't think Nintendo probably can make that, like, we are going to offer you this position. Now, the Aston Carter people could probably apply and go through those chains if they want to try.
I mean, to be honest, that's how it should go. That's kind of the one piece of the article that kind of threw me off a bit, was like, these contractors are here, they know how to do the job, so they should get the full-time jobs. It's like, no, it's a competitive position, so you should apply for it, but you have a leg up, really, against the competition. You do. But it sounds like they're not hiring anyone. Maybe.
Yeah, that part is weird. Maybe they don't feel like they need to in those positions. I don't know. But why? Yeah. Why would they even be up publicly?
That's the question.
Are they public? Yes. And actually, are they publicly available positions? Or are they internal positions?
I thought they were external. Let's see if I can find it in the page.
Yeah, it's quite a long article. It's quite lengthy.
There we go.
Has some good info.
Careers. Despite the careers site currently listing more than 100 jobs, so I don't know if that's internal or outward facing careers page.
No, that would be the careers page. It probably is internal jobs, but here's the thing: I bet none of those jobs are the jobs these contractors are doing.
Well, yeah. Why
exactly.
Open up a job?
Exactly.
You're already doing it.
And so it's not, I say, good policy, but there's also a thing here. It's weird because the article talks about it, and the structure of working through another company that is contracting, you're technically employed by someone else who has the contract, really convolutes things, because I think, I was reading another article, and I think it was Kotaku, basically also talks about all this. Maybe is this from the Kotaku, same IGN article?
Well, Kotaku did this a couple months ago. They started this conversation.
It is. This was in April, and a lot of the same stuff on the Kotaku articles. A lot of the exact same stories and people. Right. But they had a lot of stuff talking about how the management at Nintendo wouldn't directly talk to if there was problems with an employee, an Aston Carter employee, they wouldn't talk to them directly. They would talk to Aston Carter, and then the basically managing rep at Aston Carter would talk to the contractor.
And that's kind of why you outsource the management.
Yeah.
You don't.
So there's this weird. It's super. It is super weird. I don't particularly like the way that this is set up in tech at all, but it totally exists, and it's not a Nintendo thing. It's like this is how they've functioned for decades.
It's how Microsoft works, right? There's tons. I don't know if they have like a subcontractor like this through them.
They do. They have plenty of those, but they have a lot of them. That's the thing. They have straight contractors. They have subcontractor like vendors, full-time employees, and the whole thing. Like you have a ranking on where you stand in there.
Right, of course.
But they do it, and I mean, you mentioned the thing at the beginning, the how they have to have a mandatory 2 months off. Mm-hmm. That was a lawsuit from a class action lawsuit they lost a long time ago, like early 2000s at this point. I say a long time ago, but like 20 years ago. That was that, and it was EA spouse stuff in California, because like California put a lot of the same laws on the books in some ways. Where
is it was basically
like contractors being overworked and being basically permatemps. And so they put laws on the books. Yep.
But weren't they wasn't the push like, if you're going to work us 12 months of the year, we're full time, make us full time. So then they say, the answer is we'll make you 11 months.
Correct. No? Correct.
No, I know. Yeah. So that was the solution. Like, we'll make sure that you don't hit
all of this bad, like that's the thing of the Nintendo and that article talking about how they feel like second class citizens.
Yeah.
All of this stems from making sure that you are not an actual full employee of the company, because if they treat you as a full employee, they open themselves up to class action lawsuits.
Yes, absolutely.
Against them. So that's why I've been a contractor. You can't go to if they're following, I would say, HR best practices here of like keeping the company less liable. The contractor should not be invited to any company events. They should not get any merch or gifts from the employer. But on top of that, though, their employer doesn't get to dictate them having to wear specific things. Technically, they shouldn't even dictate hours that you work. That's the
right, should be the
stringent ones, like being like, well, you're a contractor, here's the work you need to do, get it done. That's where I believe that the way Nintendo and Microsoft and all these companies do it, where they do a lot of these to a third-party service that contracts, is the fact that Nintendo is not technically the employer of these people.
So it's Aston Carter who basically makes the hours, but they probably align it with Nintendo's desires.
Yep, and Aston Carter, I'd be curious if these people are considered contract employees of Aston Carter, or contractors of Aston Carter, or employees of Aston Carter.
Yeah, I would imagine that they're contractors.
I would think, but maybe not. Depending on, does Aston Carter give them any type of benefits?
Yeah, I'd be interested to look into that, because I would imagine not, but who knows?
But they could. Like I've also been
they absolutely could. Yeah,
I interviewed at a few places after I had quit PopCap that was like just more of these kind of vendor setups, and I would have been an employee of the vendor. I would have gotten the ability to get health insurance through them.
Mm-hmm.
Not like super cheap. They're not subsidizing it a huge amount, but I could be on their plan, like their company's plan. Like by all purposes, I would be an employee of them. Like they weren't treating as a contractor.
Right. Yeah. So I wonder if some of the perks that they don't get, whatever perks is a strong word here, but that they don't get from NOA, they would get from Aston Carter.
Exactly. That's why I said this gets more convoluted, because you have that middle man between the contractor and the company that's asking for work.
But it is a good point to bring it up that it is technically Aston Carter who employs them. It's just a level of obfuscation that is convenient for the corporations, but it does get confusing, because in that Kotaku article, Stephen Totilo tweeted out, a worker says Nintendo of America violated their right to organize and has filed an NLRB complaint against them and a hiring firm. The headline is it's Nintendo, but it's really probably Aston Carter.
Yep.
They're suing both of them. So it's even muddy for the worker. Like, fuck, okay, which one of you is fucking me over? I work for you, but then you work for them. And of course, for me, my answer is unionize.
Actually, that's a big yes.
So just to give you a parallel. So right now at the I think in the university and community college system, probably across the country, but in California specifically, adjunct professors are organizing and lobbying at the state level to, for example, adjunct employees are capped to work a 67% of a full-timer's load.
Okay.
So if my full load is 15 units, they can work 10. So they're lobbying to get that raised to 85 at the state level. So they're a huge number of people, so they can lobby Sacramento somewhat effectively. And then there has been some influence in legislation, not for every desire, but some things.
Sure.
So that's on the state level. On the local level at my college, our adjunct employees are part of our union, and we advocate for them. Work on the negotiations side of things, and we bring their needs to the table too. And we work for everybody. And through the union, they have a voice to get some certain demands or desires met in some way. Like right now, working on more stuff. That's what I'll say right now. So at the local level, the union can advocate. At the broader level, at state level, they have such a large mass that they could go and try to lobby. And I wonder, can contractors do the same thing in Washington?
They could theoretically do it if they were organized and not splintered across probably hundreds of different agencies, if not thousands.
Yeah, I guess that's kind of wonder because the adjunct, there are community college. There's 116 community colleges. Then there's the CSUs. Then there's the UCs, and they're all kind of united in going for the lobbying effort. They have disparate demands, but they're fairly unified.
Theoretically, would be possible. I haven't seen anything where different companies, like contractors for these different staffing agencies, that's the better word for them, are organizing in any way, but that would be a good solution.
Even this article or the Kotaku thing a couple months ago was talking about actually trying to organize a union. I mean, that's one step, of course. Also, just getting your group together to go to Olympia, right?
Yep.
And talking to lawmakers. I don't know if that's something that they've even started doing yet.
I haven't heard any rumblings out of that at all. Like, I'll be honest, a lot of people in these kind of roles and stuff they're not getting paid a lot. They're not probably even thinking about trying to make the system better. Mostly survive the system to get to where they want to be.
Yeah, that totally makes sense. And there's not really a history. I mean, there is not a history of unioning.
No.
So in my field, obviously there is. So that already feels like a tool in someone's tool belt that they can access. Whereas like you have to make it up out of whole cloth, and you're
pretty much. You need to make the hammer here.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
So I don't know. I think it would be a great solution for this because it's not good at all getting into the situation of where contractors are now. As a contractor, you are a second-class citizen, and there's you have no leverage to be anything more than that at all. You're completely disposable. Right,
you make noise, they're like, well, you're bye.
Gone. There's another 10 people that want this position. Next.
But it's strange too that what were their names? They did the Nintendo Minute. Krista Yang and Ellis. What was it? Kit Ellis and Krista Yang, Nintendo Minute. And I remember hearing them leaving Nintendo, and I was like, who the fuck leaves Nintendo? What the fuck? Like, I love their content. And it turns out they were part of the office in Redwood City that Nintendo just closed. They centralized everything back in Seattle.
Yep.
And they're like, you want to stay with Nintendo, you got to relocate. And they're like, nope.
Yeah, I mean, that happens. I mean, bring up our favorite company, Activision Blizzard, did that many years ago. They closed, then, honestly, was it around Diablo 3 time? Might have been right around the release of that, a little bit after, where they're like, there was always Blizzard North, which was up in the Bay Area.
Right.
And then they just were like, hey, you all have jobs in SoCal if you want them, but we're not, you have to relocate. We're not going to keep 2 offices open. Blizzard offices open. And it sucks, but they did it. And there was a lot of people that left. They lost talent because they're like, no, my life is in the San Francisco Bay Area. I'm not leaving it.
My kids go to school here. My spouse has a job here.
Not
moving just for me.
And and those are the decisions where you're like, where I feel like corporate interests and employee interests do not align. So
no, yeah, exactly. And I wonder like how much of it, I don't want to blame one person, but like how much of it is like Doug Bowser coming in with like a different model, but really it should be like NOJ or NCL, I guess. Nintendo of Japan, calling the shots basically, right? Like does Doug Bowser come in and say, no, we need to relocate everything into Seattle? Does he have that kind of power? Yeah.
Okay. Totally has that kind of power. I mean, he probably still has to get it approved by NCL. But he does have the power to control Nintendo of America as he sees fit. Yeah. And honestly, that just to me sounds like it was a cost-saving measure more than anything, of being like, we don't need to keep a whole separate office down here. Like, everything we do, we can just do out of Redmond. Why aren't we? Like, why? All of that almost always comes down to a bottom line standpoint.
Yeah, maybe also working from home exacerbated. Like, we have this building that's empty. Why are we all the overhead for that building? We don't need it.
Yeah. It changes that. Again, it sucks for the people there. And you're going to lose good talent when you do it. But then there's also that feeling of like, well, we'll just hire other people.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
It's not like, and that's the thing about all of this. And I brought up when there's like 10 people probably vying for a position that gets at one of these contractors even. Nintendo full-time employees, like, they put a job up on their site. There's probably dozens of people applying for it.
Yeah. I mean, who, what gamer didn't grow up dreaming of working at Nintendo,
Yeah. I've been there. I don't need to work at Nintendo. It's fine.
No, but you've been through the industry, so but like, wasn't there a time early on in your young days when you were like, it'd be cool to work at Nintendo?
Yeah. I mean, it'd been cool to work at any of these companies that I was like, oh, I love their games.
Yeah.
And then you're in the industry for a while and you're like, no, it's cool. I don't need that. It's
exactly.
fine.
Yeah.
Here's an interesting side thing, because I have a friend who, you don't know him, but he moved from LA up to Vancouver as well as like another one of my friends. But he was in the VFX industry for film and everything. So in the US, the VFX industry is very heavily contractor based. Mm-hmm. Like you sign on for like, I'm going to be a contract to this project. I'll be on it for a couple years and then I'm off. Like that's just part of how it works. They have a lot of rotating people and you jump between VFX houses. But you're a contractor straight up. Canada is weird in this, because I was asking him and it was a little confusing at first, but then I got the clarity of it. He is an employee at his VFX house for a year.
For a year? So
when he signs on, when they do contracts for VFX in Canada, you are never a contractor. You're an employee with a set amount of time to work there. In your contract, you say like, I'm a contract employee.
Yeah.
So you're treated as an employee for that year. You just have a finite end to your contract.
And then you have a chance to like re-up somehow?
Potentially if there's more work for you, but they don't. No one has to at that point.
Yeah.
But you're not treated as a different from any other employee. Like,
I see.
Which is also different. Canada's also they don't have to pay like your healthcare. So.
Yeah, right. You're not. Canadians are not dependent on their jobs for the fucking healthcare.
Exactly.
They live in heaven, apparently.
But it was an interesting thing of being like, oh, their laws push it away from this like second-class citizen contractor into, no, you can just be an employee that has a term of work.
The temporariness isn't really different, but the I don't know, not even stability, but like, yeah, you're
the quality of it.
Yes, exactly. Thank you. That's a great word for it.
Yeah. It takes some of the sting out of it that way, and you go in knowing. Like, okay. Yeah. And it isn't like you hear this in the contractors in that Kotaku article, in the IGN article, many of them being like, well, I wanted this to be a stepping stone. I was hoping to get employed by Nintendo and the whole thing, like full time. And like, that's how I thought it would work. There doesn't seem to be a whole lot of upfront on that when I was talking to my friend on like the Canadian side of things. It's very clear at the front, like you will work this contract for this amount of time. There aren't really full-time positions. There might be some management and a few on staff, but that's just not how this works.
Right. We're very project-based.
Yep. It's very just laid out there. Yeah. That friend of mine, he worked on Boba Fett, actually.
Hey.
He did VFX on a number of scenes in that show. So
very cool.
Yeah.
At least you know up front, yeah. It almost feels like to get a full-time job at NOA, it makes more sense to work full-time somewhere else.
Correct.
And then come in,
That would be the general plan in the industry for anyone looking to get in, and doing some contract, fine, if you want to put yourself through it. Don't expect to get a job at the place you're contracting at. Use it to get some experience and be applying to everywhere else you can for full-time. And then eventually, if you want to go back to, like in this case, Nintendo, get some experience someplace else and then apply to the jobs there, or never go back, because why? You might find a better thing.
Yeah, at a certain point, you're like, you know what? I like Nintendo games. I can play them without working here.
Yep. But I the contract situation of basically the U.S. is just crap to begin with. You are 100% a second-class citizen for being a contractor, and because of the way that lawsuits and liability have now been set up. It incentivizes companies to make you a second-class citizen.
It incentivizes like a layer of protection. Someone else is hiring these people, not us, and incentivizes these companies to do more of that, because the fewer real employees I have, the less likely I'm going to get sued by somebody, because there's just fewer people.
Yep.
Fucking this. I mean, everything's a dystopia now in our fucking country. But
I mean, this is where I go. Late stage capitalism sucks a lot.
Dude, this fucking Supreme Court early draft that we need to have a domestic supply of babies for the abortion fucking industry, or not abortion, for the fucking adoption industry. God, those words are too similar. The adoption industry. Jesus Christ.
Is that actually real? Like, if I went and like tried to get the data on that, because I saw it briefly and I'm like, I don't know, and I want to look into this. I'm like, barring the complete unethicalness of that whole thing, does the actual facts, is there any facts that back up this, like, that there aren't enough kids for adoption? Because my initial thought is like, that's bullshit. Because how many kids are sitting in orphanages and foster care that are just stuck there? Because you don't hear about that not being the case.
I think that's true. I think there's a difference between a brand new baby for adoption and a kid who's been in the system for a long time. I feel like
cool.
People
yeah, you're right.
That's I think people are wanting to adopt a new baby and don't want the baggage of a kid who's been kicked around the system, and that sucks. That's cool. One retort back to ACB, like, well, there are kids there to adopt. Why aren't you adopting them?
Yeah.
Do they not look what you want them to look like? Do they,
Yeah. Like, is this really about protecting life? Because I don't think it is. I'm gonna be honest.
No, it's really
and caring
not.
for life.
No, it's really not, because you don't care about the woman's life who has to like raise that kid, or like, boy, now we're going after IUDs in Louisiana. Like, okay, this podcast can go on for a long time about this.
Yeah, well, we can move on, but yes.
Folks.
Let's
move on to a different dystopia, Elden Ring.
Go for it. I have not played it this week.
Wow, you haven't? Nice.
Nope, I can't. Like,
yeah, good.
I'm like, I'm going to go on vacation. I don't need to do that before vacation.
That's a good idea.
But you played it some.
Yeah, after our podcast last week, I actually played Two Houses. That's fucking Two Houses.
Oh yeah.
No, Three Houses. Fucking hell. And really enjoyed it. I just, I figured out what my problem was with that game. I mentioned it a long time ago, but it's just the fucking teaching part. Like the conceit of you being a professor and having to teach the students and doing that whole thing and running around the monastery or whatever. It's like, I hate that. I don't know why I just can't get into that, but I really like the battling. So I just battled, just kept battling. It was so fun. But I played some Elden Ring this week, and I just picked up a bunch of different small quests. Like I went to Nokron City, and I found the Finger Slayer Blade, and I found the Mimic Ashes. I had just missed the Site of Grace. Like when you come after the Mimic fight, you come across that big bridge, you hook left, and there's like the whole, I don't know, like foresty area.
Yep.
With some spectral, I don't know, fucking oxes or whatever. There really needs to be a bestiary in this game. Anyway, but instead of hooking left, I like went everywhere else. But if I hooked left and keep going up the left side, then there's a Site of Grace there, and you just jump onto a roof.
Yep.
Which I just had completely missed. So I did that. I had a guide tell me where to find that Site of Grace, and I just looked at the map. I was like, oh, fuck, I haven't been there. Went there, didn't look at a map for anything else in Nokron City, and wasn't sure what I was going to find there. I didn't know if I was going to find the Mimic Ashes or the Finger Slayer Blade or both. And I was stoked to find them both. And it's just a ton of fun. It was really fun going through there. And I'm sure there's things that I missed. But I got my Mimic Ash up to level 5 and just used it in one, which fight was it? It wasn't Omen Killer. I had Neff Folly with me for that one, which is something else I did. But there's some other boss fight that I just did the Mimic Ash. And I just sat back. I did nothing. I just wanted to see, how strong is this? Oh yeah, it's me. This is me. And that boss just got wiped, which was cool. And then I just wanted to find Kenneth Haidt. Like I wanted to see if I could still find him and try to like eventually Spoiler, I guess, if you haven't done this, just fast forward 10 seconds or whatever, but get him on the throne in Limgrave. And he was still there. He was still hanging out on this bridge above me, still calling out for people 60 hours into the game. So I just finally figured out that he was above me because I couldn't figure out where he was before earlier in the game. And then advanced his quest line, advanced Nefali's quest line in the, what was it, like the village of the Artusians or whatever the fuck it is. I can't remember what it is. Albonarians or something like that. So I advanced her quest line and got the found Albus there, who gave me like a piece of a medallion that I had to go back to some other place to give to this lady, I guess, with a wolf, with a lobo, and then she turned into a spear dash, and she's like, bring me to the fight with Michaela or Millennia, can't remember which one. Do you know which one?
You don't have to bring her to a fight.
Well, no, I don't have to, but she was like, she wants to be there or something like that. I thought she was saying that she wanted to be part of that fight.
I've done this thing. I never took her to a fight, but there was a place that you take her and it triggers an event where you either have to manually summon her, but it's not a fight where you summon her. You summon her around a thing and like there's a whole conversation that happens.
Cool. Okay. I thought she was like part of the Halig Tree fight thing.
It's in, I will say that it's in the not Halig Tree, it's in the consecrated snowfields where this happens and everything.
Okay.
I'd have to check again. Maybe I just missed taking her to a fight. Like I did I got the reward from the quest. Maybe you don't have to take her to a fight.
Well, there was definitely a piece where you had to take her somewhere. The thing you're talking about, she talked to, like, I saw that part, but I thought it was also that she wanted to be part of the fight against Melania or something.
Maybe.
And I thought just like from a lore point, that'd be kind of cool to like have her in that fight. But if I'm misreading that, then
I'd have to check again.
But I was happy to advance those quest lines, and then I went to Roundtable Hold because I knew that she was going to be there to talk to her. And when I went to Roundtable Hold, I fucking got jumped by, I think, the dude who stands outside of
Yes, you did.
What the fuck's his name? Gilroy, Godfrey, whatever the fuck his name. Gideon's door. And I was like,
yeah,
who the fuck is this? And then I went there and he was gone. And the guy says, oh, I'm sorry about that thing with him. I was like, what the fuck? Your dude just jumped me and you're like, don't care. I think that I'm going to fight with this guy eventually. That's where this seems to be going. I guess we'll see.
It's a reasonable guess.
Well, he does have a list of 5 names, and I've taken out 2 or 3 of them. I think 2 of them, maybe. So I assume when I take out all 5, something fucking crazy happens with that guy.
Good theories. I will say that. Interesting theories. Cool. Probably happens different than you think. I'll say that.
Okay, that sounds good. So I played probably 2 or 3 different nights for about an hour and a half to 2 hours each night. So it's kind of limiting myself, but trying to like progress a variety of things, like Ronnie's questline, and then these NPC things. Mm-hmm. And then I got a few death roots, so I went to Caleb to bring it back to the Beastmaster, or whatever his name is. And then he fucking wanted to kill me, and I have like an aversion to hurting NPCs, so I just fucking ran, ran away. And then Travis was like, "You need to go back and fight him."
Yeah, you don't kill him.
Okay.
You don't have to. I think he stops at a certain amount, and it's triggered by giving him 4 death root.
That was it. I gave him the 4th one, and he's like, "Oh, this something else is under here. Taste it." I'm like, "Oh shit, that's not good." And I noticed that I could like attack in there.
Yep.
I was like,
every
boy.
It's whenever you give him the 4th one, then he rages out and attacks you.
Yep.
So fun times. That was a fun thing to find the first time.
Yeah, literally scared the shit out of me. I just ran. Oh no, I must have done something wrong. I'm like, no, this is probably what's supposed to happen. I didn't figure that out till later. And that's kind of it. Other than games in the morning with my daughter. But yeah. How about you? What have you been playing?
What have I been playing? Well, today I played some more Vampire Survivors because they put out another update.
Oh damn!
2 new weapons. So
nice.
And so no, was it 1 new weapon and 2 new evolutions, a new character. So I just figured, why not? When they drop updates every few weeks. Still a great game. $3, just buy it. It's worth it.
Yeah.
You get a lot of playtime out of this ridiculous thing. Beyond that, this week, I didn't really play much of anything until Thursday, and then I don't know why I decided to get it when it came out. But I was like, give me a tactics thing. I'll read its full name because this is a lot. Warhammer 40,000 Chaos Gate Demon Hunters. Daemon Hunters, I should say. It's Warhammer XCOM.
Oh wow,
It's pretty damn good. It's hard as fuck. Like, but I'm having a great time with it. But it's very much like an XCOM style type game. There's an XCOM type campaign where you're moving between like a bunch of different planets in a sector, and chaos outbreaks are happening, and you need to stop them, and you're piecing together some mysterious puzzle of what's actually going on. But it's, for people who know the 40K universe, it's actually very well done. I'll say they clearly, and I looked it up after, they got like one of the best 40K novel writers to write the game.
Oh dang, nice.
Dan Abnett, who, if anyone wants to read anything 40K ever, just read Eisenhorn by Dan Abnett. It's a great introduction to the world, and I don't really like Space Marines or give a shit about much of anything in the 40K world, but that book was actually a lot of fun.
That's cool.
Captures kind of it captures the world and the universe well, and it's not about Space Marines.
Which is why you liked it.
Yeah, there's actually because I enjoyed that, he put out a new book that I've been reading as well. That follows a completely not Space Marine, like a female protagonist, who is very cool, who is a side character in Eisenhorn. So we're doing a whole trilogy on her character. And it's nice, because the best 40K novels are the ones that aren't Space Marines about them.
Yeah, I think that makes sense to me, too.
Yeah, completely. Like, it's a Space Marine. They're freaking boring. But this game is pretty cool in that way. It has great voice acting and mocap. It has Andy Serkis plays one of the main characters in it.
Oh, damn. That's an endorsement. That's cool.
Yeah. I was playing it. There's an Inquisitor in there, which is a type of character in 40K. And she kind of is like a key part to your crew. And you're like, I know this voice. It's the same voice actress as a Final Fantasy 14 character.
Oh, damn.
Like one of the main Final Fantasy 14 characters. And I'm like, oh yeah, same energy. I hear it. That's
cool. That's cool.
So
like,
I've been having a lot of fun with
Final
that.
Fantasy 14.
You should. That's good.
No, you're thinking that. It pulls you back.
Yeah, it does a little bit. I did play. Did I play any more of that? I jumped back in. I did a little bit of PvP this week. Because their new PvP mode is fantastic. I never thought I'd say that, but they're like short 5-minute fights.
That's cool.
Basically push pull. You're just trying to push a crystal to the enemy's basically goal. And so it's really fast, really fun. Since it's so short, 5v5. And since it's so short, if you lose, you don't feel that salty about it.
Yeah, that's true. When you lose like a fucking hour-long battle, you just get pissed.
Why do people rage in League of Legends? Because they just spent 45 minutes to lose.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's recipe for disaster.
So, but no, this Chaos Gate game was fun. If you're looking for like a very XCOM-y take on things, the key thing in it is Chaos Gate, there is no RNG. If you swing at a thing or shoot at a thing, you're gonna hit it and deal damage. The RNG is not about hitting. It's about tactically making your hits maximize what you're doing, basically, in your actions.
That's maybe less frustrating.
A little bit, because it's always fun to miss when you have a 99% chance of hitting.
Yeah, exactly. Been there.
Yeah. Everyone who's played XCOM has been there. And even Fire Emblem. You were talking about it. It definitely has feelings sometimes. You're like, you asshole. How did you miss? Like,
very frustrating.
You had one job. One job.
Sometimes when you have like a 55% chance to hit and you hit, you're just like, yes. But
I know. There are those highs. Those are great highs. But man, for those highs, you also have to have the equal lows in the RNG system.
That's kind of what I mean. Yeah, exactly. Is that like it's compensated sometimes, but you get both.
So yeah, that would be for anybody who likes those type of tactics games. It's a fun one. It's hard though. It's pretty brutal. So
especially
take that for what it is. Yeah, everything hit.
Everything hits you too, I'm assuming.
It does. It does. So it's very much a game of moving and cover, using it's an action point system, so you have like 3 actions, and that determines how far you can use it all to move. You can use it to move some, shoot, move more, and use abilities. So there's it's all about maximizing your action points and your action economy to do as much damage as you can, and ideally be in cover when you're done with doing what you're trying to do. But yeah,
I might check out a stream of that, see what it looks like.
Yeah, it's fun. It's very 40K. It follows a type of Space Marine that you tend to not see in the games, though. They're called Grey Knights, which are like super demon hunter Space Marines. Like, that's their whole thing, is they don't really fight anyone else. They fight chaos. And they have psychic powers and all sorts of heretical stuff in the universe. But so it's nice seeing a game based around them. There's meant to be elite and crazy. So, but it's still 40K. It's dark. It's grimdark.
That's what I think about 40K is grimdark.
It's grimdark. But it has good talent behind it. So I wanted to. Cool. I don't know why. I just felt like I feel like a tactics thing, and this is coming out, so why not?
Did you ever play? You never picked up Triangle Strategy?
I have not yet. I played the demo, made it through a lot. I was really bored with the dialogue. I was like, "Shut up! Stop talking."
Not going to sell you in the full game, then.
I mean, the tactic part was a lot of fun, but it was just like, man, I was like, the story is not being told concisely. It feels really padded in that way, and just padded with a dialogue. You're like, man, this needed to be edited down. Like,
yeah.
The character probably could say about a third of what they're saying and still be very clear about what's going on.
Concision in role-playing games, especially when they're fucking long, is important.
It is. It's very important. And a lot of those role-playing games and tactics role-playing games miss that memo.
Yeah. It's hard. I mean, as a writer, it's just hard to kill your darlings, you know?
Yeah. And I will say, like, having gone back and, like, played some Final Fantasy Tactics in the past year, it's very concise. Like, that's one of the great things about it, is, like, even its cutscenes are very, in-game cutscenes, little dialogues going on, are very concise, very quick. Like, the writer didn't want to stick around, like, stay too long on it. It's like, no, got what you know, next, let's go. Like, right. It's not a game about being slow paced for a tactics game.
It makes it, I mean, even more compelling. Really.
It's still, I'm like, oh, okay, that's why this game probably holds up over time a bit better than others. But
especially even against like other JRPGs of the time that were verbose.
Yes. But yeah, I think have I played anything else? I think that's it. It's been those 2 games. And then I'll have to figure out what I'm going to play on the plane. I've got a couple games on the Switch. I have Bravely Default 2 and Shin Megami Tensei 5 teed up that I could play at any point. So
both not short games.
No, that's fine.
That's cool.
But see if one of those might grab me.
Awesome. Well, thanks everyone for sticking with us for episode 337 of Prof and Dev Play Games. If you like us, please rate us on your podcast service of choice, tell a friend or two, and we will be back next week to talk more video games. No, actually, no, we will not be. Next week, Anthony's on vacation. We will fucking not be here. Although he will be here. So we're going to take a week off, and we'll come back at you in 2 weeks to talk about video games. By that point, we're going to have some firm, I don't want to say E3, but June game news stuff that we'll talk about.
Yeah, I think so.
All right, folks. Thanks for listening.
All right. Later, everyone.